Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with the next update for my deco panning. This project was started by Emilynmax here on YouTube and it was inspired by Books with Maddie. She did this project in the way of like a TBR, like to be read, for her book channel, but Emily took inspiration for that and created a product pan out of it. And this project is based on a game board, which is where the deck of panning comes from, and you use a deck of card to correspond to a certain card each month, and that card in turn corresponds to a prompt, and those prompts are shuffled each month. So that's basically how the project is set up, but I do recommend checking out Emily's introduction video, which will be linked down below because she explains every single rule in there. But yeah, I'm gonna jump into my project, but before I do so, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you in the family. But let's jump into the video. So I do have 5 products rolling at any time in this project, and I'm going to start with the first one, which is the one that has been in the longest, and that is my Stila Glitter and Glow in the shade Satin. I have deposited it into a Colourpop Super Shock Shadow container because it was drying up in the original container and it's easier to use this way. But this eyeshadow I do want to finish, and this is what it looked like last month. I did have a bit of progress on it, and it's easier to track now once it's in this pan because it's easier to see how the pan is expanding. And this is how it's looking today. So hopefully you can see that I did expand the pan. At least I think I did expand the pan quite a lot. I did use this one 6 times in the past month, which is pretty good. I said last month I think that I wanted to be around at least 5 uses, so I'm happy with 6. And I did use it as nail polish twice. I'm wearing it today, so this is what it looks like. I'm wearing it over SC Merino Cool. I think that's what it's called, the nail polish. And then yeah, I used this topped over one layer, and I really love it. I love this as a nail polish, and I'm probably going to continue using it that way, especially now because this really isn't like a summer color for me. So I'm probably going to continue, like I said, using it as a nail polish, maybe hopefully twice a month moving forward, because I do get a lot of progress that way, and then just a handful of times on the eyes as well. And if I can keep doing that, hopefully I will have this done in the next couple of months, because that would be really nice, because again I have been working on this since the start of the year. So this one will be staying in the project, but I'm happy with the progress that I'm getting on it. Next up we have my Becca Eye Corrector. I believe this one has also been in since the start, and this one I rolled in for something you own duplicates of, or a backup or something like that. And also, if I didn't mention, the Stila was rolled in for something glittery, which worked really well for that prompt. But this one I do want to finish as well, and this is what it looked like last month. I was predicting I would hit pan on this in the upcoming month, so before this update, and I'm happy to say that I did do so. So this is what it looks like today. I'm not sure how well you'll be able to pick up the pan on camera because it is product over it, but on this side right here there is a pan. I think maybe you will be able to pick it up a little bit there. But yeah, I did hit pan, and now it's quite a large pan as well. I did use it 23 times in the past month, and I do believe I hit pan after 14 uses in the past month. And I did say that I am hoping to finish this by the next month, and I'm gonna try, but it's still quite a lot of product in here, although I did hit pan. But there is a chance I will finish it in the next month, if not definitely in the next 2 months. And I love this product. I use it every single time I do my makeup, and yeah, it just really brightens up the under eyes, and it means that I use less concealer. So I love this product, and I'm happy to continue working on it, but I also will be happy the day that I roll this out so I can roll something else into this project. Next up we have a product that was rolled in 2 months ago, so the rest of the products are a bit newer. This one is the oldest out of the 3 remaining products though, and again it's been in for 2 months, and that is my sleek Solstice palette. This one I wanted to hit pan on one of the shades, and as a last update I decided to try to pan on the second shade in the palette, and this is what that shade looked like at the last month. I had then used it 12 times, and in the past month I had used it an additional 14 times, and that is what it looks like today. So hopefully you can see that I do have a tiny pan in that highlighter right there. I did actually pan on this today using it in the corner highlight. Yeah, I used it that way most of the times I use this, because both of the shades, I mean all 3 of these shades are very light, but especially the 2 shades that I didn't have pan on are very kind of light and cool toned, so they're not my favorite in summer, and that is why I mainly use this as an inner corner highlight, because it was easy to reach for that way. And obviously that also meant that I hit pan on it a bit faster, but I'm happy that I do have pan on this now, and that I can be rolling this out of the project. And in total it took me 26 uses to hit that pan. pan. And to say again, I rolled that one in for product Graveyard because I have used that in different products before. The next product I have to talk about is my Super Shock Shadow in DGAF, and this one I rolled in for Pet Chooses my product. So I did use my puppy, or yeah, she's 4 months now, so puppy still. Lexi, she chose my eyeshadow, so I put out a few different Super Shock shadows in on the floor, and she got to choose one, and she decided to go with this one. So I do want to use this one 30 times, and this is what it looked like when I introduced it. I do already have pan on all my Super Shock shadows, but I do want to kind of expand the pan and hopefully eventually use all of these up. But yeah, my goal with this is to use it 30 times, and I'm not doing too well with it. I only used it 3 times, and this is what it looks like now. I was hoping to use this a bit more, but yeah, I used this almost like, I think I used it 3 days in a row. And then I just tried to hit pan on something different, and I forgot about it, and then yeah, I haven't used it since then. This month has gone so quickly. I can't believe it's been a month already since my previous update. I know I filmed that a little bit late, so it maybe hasn't been quite that long. I mean, yeah, so that's a good actually indicator, because I use that Becca Eye Corrector every time I do my makeup, and that's only 23 uses. So I think it's max been maybe like 25-26 days since my last update, so not a full month. But I still was hoping to get a bit more use out of this one before this update, but it's okay. I'm gonna put in a goal of to hopefully reach for this at least 10 times in the next month, because I really do want to get some good use out on this, so I can roll it out before the end of the year. Because if I use this 3 times every month, it's gonna take 10 months to hit my goal, which is longer than what I have left in the year. So I just need to step up my usage game with this a bit. And in order to reach that, like I said, my goal with this will be to reach it for 10 times in the next month. We'll see if I'm able to do that, but I'm gonna try. So the last part that I have to talk about is my Natasha Nona Sunrise palette, and I rolled this in for your astrology sign, which for me is Scorpio, because a lot of colors in here are kind of colors that, when people say traditional Scorpio colors, it's like burgundies, quite like reddish tones, and I feel like there's a lot of them in this palette, so that's why I wanted to pick this one. And I rolled this one in for the kind of no pan left behind style, and this is what the palette looks like. And I'm happy to say that I did use every single shade once. I was hoping to reach for some shades a bit more than once, and I will probably keep reaching for this over the summer, because this is the perfect summer palette. And if you didn't see my last video, my top 5 summer palettes, this was featured in there. So I probably will reach for this more, but I've just been so overwhelmed with the amount of eyeshadows that I'm panning. So because of that, I haven't been able to reach for this as much as I wanted. But I did use every single shade once, so I will be rolling it out of this project. But again, I will try to reach for this more in the upcoming like couple months when we're still in summer. And yeah, I really love this palette. It's beautiful. I love all of the shades. The only kind of criticism I have to this palette is that the shade Poppy and Phlox, like this one and this one right here, are very similar. One is slightly more orange tone and one is slightly more burgundy, but it's very slight, and I think that's just a bit repetitive. If I was making this palette, I probably would have picked a different shade for one of them and just had a bit more variety. But otherwise, I love this palette, and it's really nice. It's a typical Natasha Nona formula. I don't feel like there's any duds in here, and yeah, I love this, and I'm happy that I got to play around with this palette. So since I hit gold on that Natasha Nona palette as well as my sleek highlighter, I will be rolling in 2 new prompts. So I do have my deck of cards right here, and I'm going to shuffle them quickly, and I'm going to pick 2 cards so you can know what my new prompts are. So I did shuffle them, and I will do one last cut on camera just so you know that I aren't cheating. So yeah, I have my cards right here, and I'm going to put 2 cards. I usually just pick the ones from the top, and we'll see what I get. So the first card is going to be 10 of Hearts. So 10 of Hearts is a blush. Ooh. I'm very overwhelmed with blushes right now, so that's not my ideal prompt, but I'll go with it. At least I get to pick which one I throw in, so that's good. Yeah, I'm panning way too many blushes at the moment, but that's okay. I need to get used out of them. I have too many blushes in my collection. So that is going to be the first prompt. Yeah, that's a blush. So let's pick the second card and see what I get, and that is going to be 9 of Spades. And 9 of Spades is a wishlist dupe. That's interesting. I need to think of what's on my wish list and what I can put in as a dupe. Okay, so I'll figure those 2 prompts out, and then I will be right back. So I'm back, and I have my 2 new products. The first prompt I rolled in was a blush, and the blush that I decided to roll in is my Gina blush from NARS. I I have more blushes that I kind of wanted to pick, especially one that I was really keen to rolling in again is my MAC blush in Fairly Precious. I just love that so much for summer. However, I already worked on that in my whole collection project pans. Was it that project? I think that was that product, but at least I worked it in one of my projects. So I wanted to roll in something else, and this blush is such a nice peachy blush, and it's beautiful again for summer, and it's one that I haven't had a chance to reach for yet this year. So I want to pull this one in, and it is very different to the other blushes that I'm panning, because other blushes that I'm panning are more kind of pink leaning. They can be a bit more coral, but they all kind of have some pink to them, whereas this one is very much just a peach blush. So I'm excited to roll this one in, but since I am panning so many other blushes, I'm just going to put a usage goal of 20 on this, so not super high. But I am just so overwhelmed with the amount of blushes that I'm panning, so 20 uses on this is going to be my goal. As for the next prompt, a wish list dupe, that was really difficult for me to pick. Because right now, I don't have too many things on my wish list. The first things I could think of was like Natasha Nona palette and Pat McGrath palettes, because those are probably the top of my wish list palettes. I also have things like the Flower Punk palette from Kaleidos, but I don't really have any palettes similar to that. Loads of singles, but again, it's just going to be too difficult to go and dupe that out. I mean, it probably wouldn't be, but I don't know which single to pick for that. Like, I have so many singles on my wish list that it would be hard to narrow it down and then find a dupe. Does that make sense? So I decided to stick with what I initially thought, which was Natasha Nona or Pat McGrath. So I was trying to think of initially the Pat McGrath Bronze Seduction palette, but none of the palettes that I had really fit that prompt. Similar also with the bronze palette for Natasha Nona. I was thinking like maybe something similar to that, but I don't really have any fully bronze palette like that. I have a few neutral palettes, but like I think the most similar one I would have picked in is my Soft Glam palette from Anastasia, but I already worked on that a little bit this year, and I don't think it kind of dupes the vibe exactly. So I decided to skip that. But one palette that I also want, like I've been really intrigued by, is the Natasha Nona pastel palette. I know it didn't get the best reviews, but I'm still very intrigued by it, and I don't actually have a full pastel palette. So you might be thinking, why am I pulling in a dupe then if I don't have a pastel palette? It's because I'm pulling in a palette that has some pastels in it, but so I think hopefully by pulling this one in I will get my fix of those pastel shades. But I still like, you know, reaching for a palette that maybe has a bit more variety. So the palette that I decided to roll in is my Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde palette, and again, yes, it's not a full pastel palette by any means. It looks like this on the inside, but it definitely has those pastel shades. Like this one right here, this shade right here, and this shade right here are very much like pastels, I would say. Let me swatch them out quickly so you can see. But yeah, you can see them there on my fingers. They're definitely pastels. So you get like a good variety of pastels in this palette, but you also mix it with a few kind of more neutral shade, a few more deeper shades. Overall, I feel like this will kind of get my fix of pastel colors, and hopefully that means I will also not want to pick that one up as much. So that's kind of going to be the palette that I rolled in. And since I really enjoyed working on the Natasha Nona Sunrise palette in No Panel Left Behind kind of style, I do want to do that with this palette too. So my goal with this will be to reach for every single shade at least once. And once I've done that, I will be able to roll this one out. So that is going to be my goal for this palette. And again, with the blush, I have 20 uses. So that is going to be my update for today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. And don't forget to check out Emily down in the description box, as well as the playlist of everyone else who is doing this project. And otherwise, I hope you have a lovely day wherever you are, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye guys.